Well, hey folks, thanks for tuning in, and then this is the next episode of the 1971 Honda SL125 engine work. Please enjoy watching. Alright, I've got most of the parts for the SL125 down here. Used parts and brand new stuff and more used parts. There's 2 cylinder heads. Don't know how I ended up with all this. I don't know what's in there. This is all new stuff. So I need to make as complete an inventory as I can. Got 2 gasket kits. And although it's a fairly small bike, there's lots of different pieces. So, and I took it apart 3 years ago. So I guess I will focus on what do I need to put the frame back together. So like swing arm bushings, find the axles, wheel bearings. I need wheel bearings for the wheels so I can assemble the wheels. Nail down which cylinder head I'm going to use. And strip that one and throw that one away. It's garbage. I found the fork seals, and I think I put them actually in the engine. With the engine stuff. So I have to go fish that out. Alright, so I got some work to do. Okay, well, an hour later I have everything inventoried. Body stuff, engine stuff. I went through the heads, took the valves out. 2 junk heads. This was from the very first SL125 I got. Show that damage. Look at that damage. See how it's just corroded away? I started trying to clean it up with a wire wheel and it took the cylinder. The cylinder was just all corroded away. The fins are actually okay on this one, but the exhaust stud areas were no good. You can see there's a drill broken off in there. But it's too bad the fins are okay on it. But it's toast. So I found a lot of stuff. I got some stuff I got to order. I found some stuff I ordered 2 days ago that I already have. And I found like a triplicate of lots of stuff. I think it was my intention to restore like 3 of these. And I had 2 that I made run and drive and I sold them. Anyway, all kinds of stuff. I didn't see a condenser in there. Right. So I foolishly took the intake manifold studs out of this head that I'm going to use for the SL125. And one of them snapped right off. I don't know how much is in there. There's a good amount in there. Is this the one that snapped? No, this one snapped. So I think there's like maybe that much. I don't know. Anyway, there's a good amount in there. So I have this, and I'm sure it's not going to work because this stuff never works for me. But this is a screw extractor set. It's got reverse drill bits. It's got this type of bolt and screw extractor. It's got this type. I never have any luck with these ever, but I'm going to try to have luck with this one. So I was just heating this up. So I heated this side up. I broke this one, then I heated this one up and gently took this one out. It was fine. And then I thought to myself, I could feel it was going to break. Why didn't I just stop and heat it up and try to be more careful? Because now this is half an hour of my weekend, which I'm not going to get back. Okay. So I've already drilled a hole fairly in the center, which is different for me. I usually put it in cockeyed constantly. So we'll see if this drill bit, this reverse drill bit, can do anything. Do I want it? Maybe I shouldn't use lube. Nah, gotta use lube. All this seems like is a drill bit that is not sharp. Which seems to be like burned on the end. And this is the point at which you're like, do I want to try and use a screw extractor and probably break the screw extractor off in the hole? Or should I just continue drilling it out, which is exactly what I should do, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to use a screw extractor and just drive myself crazy. Okay, I can see the screw extractor flexing, which is like, you know, is it going to just snap off? It didn't break. No, I don't trust it. Waste of time. I don't know what this drill bit is made of. Hansen used to be a good company. But everything is made somewhere else. Alright, so let's keep going here. So 3/16 is the one that I want. This is the next one below 3/16. It's not perfect, but I think it's gonna do. It'll have to do. Alright, well I usually don't show myself cleaning things, but there's a lot of muck in this engine case. So, before I put it in the vapor blaster, I want to see if I can get some of this muck out of here. This is where the chain would go, so there's, you know, chain junk there. Then there's some buildup in here. This is where like the oil screen is. Anyway, you get the gist of it. It's super boring, and I don't want to touch the camera because I have diesel on me. Alright, so I can get all of it, but I got enough. So in the chamber it's going to go. And I got the head. I got the cylinder I'm going to use. That needs to be cleaned up. Yeah, so this is going to take a while. A lot of dirt there. But I got some of the heavy muck out of the bottom of it, and that's good enough. Unfortunately, it's all covered with diesel. Alright, well, we got the SL125 cases vapor blasted. Still some gasket material here and there. We'll go around and get rid of that. So now I want to go through and run a thread chase through all of the holes. I think they're all 6 millimeter. So just make sure every hole is clean. And my plan is I have to get all of the transmission components out and clean them. There's like an oil varnish, like oil that sat there for a long time, and it's not really oil anymore. It's kind of sticky. So I got to get that all cleaned off so the transmission will shift properly. That needs to be honed before I put it together. Still got a little bit of dirt on it. Quite a bit of dirt. Again, all these little holes need to be hit. And so I'm going to clean out the holes. Then I'm going to go find the bearings, the main bearings that go in it for the transmission, and put those bearings back in. I think there's 1, 2, 3. I think there's only 3. The bearing that goes on the crank is just on it, and I'm not going to replace those. I'm just going to clean this off. Again, there's like this kind of gooey oil varnish that's on here, so I got to get that off of there. clean that crank up a little bit. So put the bearings back in, clean the threads, put the bearings back in, and then what I'm going to do is test fit, clean the transmission. Then I'm going to test fit the transmission, put the transmission in, not the crank, and put the cases back together, and make sure that I can shift through the gears, that I've got the transmission together correctly. Because the time to find that out is now, rather than after you put, like, you know, case sealer on here and stick it back together, and you put the engine together and paint it and everything, and then it doesn't work, and that's no good. So that is my plan. So I got a little WD-40 here, thread chase. See, it's got the black residue from the vapor honer. That's all of them. So it's a bunch of that. So I'm cleaning up the threads on the head, and I don't remember it being broken, although I just cleaned this thing up, but obviously that is busted. The exhaust stud has been drilled out and retapped. I'm not really sure what size, but what I'm going to try to do is put a helicoil in it. So it's already drilled out, unfortunately larger than what's recommended for the tap for the helicoil. So I can see some kind of thread on there, but not a very good one. Let's see if I can tap it for a helicoil, and hopefully I can thread the helicoil in. Seems like it's biting somewhat. In any case, let's see if we can get this to go in. See if we can get this stud to thread in there. Well, that ain't too good. That just totally destroyed those threads. It's supposed to be an M6 helicoil. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I have the new exhaust stud somewhere, and when I get to that point, I'm just going to take some JB weld and I'll jam the exhaust stud in there, because that's about all I'm going to do with that. I've got a little bit of gasket left. I've got this bin here. See if I can clean the varnish off from inside these bearings. I think this is the input shaft and this is the output shaft, or vice versa. And this is like the counter shaft. So I'm just kind of putting some brake clean in there. Move it around. Scrub it a little bit. Try not to get any bristles stuck in there. Get some oil. Alright, so next step is to get these bearings back into the cases. Alright, so this is the right hand side of the motor, so this is where the clutch is, and so this would be the input shaft of the transmission. So this is the input shaft bearing. I'm going to heat up the outside of the case around where the bearing goes, and then the bearing should just slip right in. I wouldn't call that slipping in. Note to self, if you need a socket, pick it out before you get started on this. And this one has like a seal, has a sealed edge, sealed side, and an open side. And which side goes where? I'll have to go figure that out. This is the one that has a kind of a seal on one side and it's open on the other side. I think it's all the way down. It's pretty close to hitting the bottom. So I can see why that has a seal on one side. If you see right in here, I don't know if you can see it, but right in the center, there's like a hole. So that's an oil hole. So some oil pressure leads through there, oil goes through there, and it goes through the transmission shaft and oils the transmission shaft. Okay. So I don't think I quite got that heated up enough. I think that's why that was kind of a pain to get in there. Is this the right socket size? Okay, so that's the right socket size. I don't think there's an orientation to this. So this is the output shaft bearing. Alright, so this is the input shaft of the transmission. Input side. So I'm going to very, hopefully methodically, take these off and kind of inspect them. Looking for burrs. Right. So there is some dirt in here. So I'm going to clean this up. There's also some oil holes, and I guess I have to be careful of where the oil holes are. Well, I'll go read. I have a manual. I'll go read the manual. So these oil holes on the KZ1000 engine lined up with a hole in the gear, but I don't see any holes in here. So I'm going to clean this up, hit it with some degreaser, brake cleaner, and then put it together and hit it, put engine oil on it and make sure it's all smooth and everything. Okay, well, I've got a Partzilla guide to go by. I'm going to rearrange these in a reverse order. So this is the part where the clutch basket goes. So this goes on here. So put that at the end. So the first thing to go on is this gear. And then there's a thrust washer here. Alright, and then there's a clip. Okay. And now it's this gear. I believe it goes like this. Not exactly what you want to be saying to yourself. I believe it goes like this. You want to know that it goes like this. I better see if there's a better diagram. Alright, well, this picture is of this. And you can't tell where this slot is. This slot is for the shifting fork to move this back and forth. On this one, you can tell that that's the slot. But you can't tell where the slot is on this one. But on this picture, the slot is definitely like this. So that's what I'm going to go with. Alright. And so now there should be another snap ring. There, okay. And now another thrust washer. Right there. Put some oil on there. Okay, and now this one goes there. Some oil on there. Okay, so we're locking in with that one, so we're locking the shaft either to this gear, or we're locking the shaft to that gear. Okay, so now this one, and then a washer. And then this part here not totally clear on where that goes. So that goes there, and this goes that. Does this whole thing go through here? It does. Oh, okay. Alright, so there's one part. I don't know if I like that. But is it the bearing or what? So there's this piece here. This has like a, looks to be like some kind of a copper bushing. Oil on it. Like the bearing doesn't seem to have a lot of play, but this, maybe the bushing does. It rotates nice and smooth. Alright. Well, now, thank you. Okay. Well, I think at least the input shaft is together. So I'll put this to the side and break out the output shaft. So this is the sprocket side, and so we'd have sprocket, the seal, the bearing, and then a thrust washer here, and then this one, and it looks like the taper is on the inside, so I'll place it down as they come off, and then down, and this one. Okay, so this one doesn't come off on this side, it has to come off on the other side. So this, so this is this one, and then this is the next one. Place it down like that, and then there should be, yeah, okay, so there's a washer right there, and then this one down like that. This one, these all have some dirt in them. I can clean this out. Down like that, and then this one is going to have a clip. Come on. Cheap shit. I mean, you just can't buy any quality tools. It's moving back and forth, that's why it won't catch. Come on. So where am I? So, right, so the clip, and then a thrust washer, and then this one goes like that. Okay. Alright, so the shaft itself has some good amount of varnish, and of course there's rust on the outside of the output shaft where the sprocket goes, because that gets exposed to the weather. So I'm going to clean all this up, and then I'm going to put it back together. Okay, so this is the output shaft. Putting it back together. I have the instructions right here. So it's all cleaned, oiled. Slide on the second gear, flush side last. So there's a taper side and a flush side. So that goes like this. Already put some oil on here. And then the thrust washer. From the other side of the shaft, slide on fourth gear. And the dogs go towards the second gear. that. Slide on third gear, flush side first. That goes right there. Then the thrust washer, and then the clip. Right. Next page. Slide on fifth gear and the thrust washer. Okay. So let's see, fifth gear. Looks like it goes like this. I'm surprised they don't note that. That's kind of tight. Why is that so tight? I don't like how tight that is. I'm going to take that apart. That's annoying. I'm going to put that over there. Alright, yeah, I took that apart and the thrust washer, I flipped it over and now it spins easily. So, there's that. Okay, so this one's next. And that was fifth gear. Slide on first gear, flush side last, and install the thrust washer. Okay, so that's this one. Flush side last. Put some oil on there. So that's first or fifth. And this is second or fourth. Okay. Slide on the kickstart idle gear, which is this one. That doesn't seem to have an orientation to it. Some oil on there. So first, and then a thrust washer, and then kickstart gear, and another thrust washer. Okay, so now I think that one is good to go. Alright. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is try to do a test fit of the transmission and put the case halves back together and see if I can get it to shift through the gears. So it says that you just take the engine, or transmission rather, and stick them together. Which I guess is about like that. take you along with me here. So the bottom of this shaft, there's a thrust washer which fell out of my hand, and it's right there. And I'm going to have to get it out, so I'll just take the whole thing back out again. Okay. So you go there, and you go there. Let's try it like that. And actually, that goes like that. Try to keep that on there. Let's try it again. There's that one. Going down. So you can see that washer moving around. Nope. In there, I can't tell. Maybe it is. Okay, what does that do? Alright, well, let's assume that's in. Now we're going to put the shift works in. Okay, so you remember one of the main factors for me taking the splitting the cases was to replace the kickstart shaft. So you can see how mangled this is. Just wrecked. So I transferred all the pieces onto the new shaft. And the new shaft goes in the right hand side of the crankcase. Like that. Okay. And then the return spring. Looks like the return spring goes in here, and it's kind of mangled the inside of the case, but there's nothing I'm going to do about that. So where does this go? Does this go like this? Hook the return spring into the recess in the crankcase. I'm going to have to go upstairs and get a Kickstarter, I think, because I guess that's how it works, like that. Alright, but whatever. Okay. That was kind of easy. So again, the goal is to put the shifter assembly together. See if I can spin this over and shift through the gears. Alright, so I've got the shifter on here, shift shaft, selector. So right now it's a neutral, and I have an ohm meter hooked up to the neutral light wire, which plugs in right here. So it's a neutral, and I'm grounded to the case. So as soon as I put it in first, of course it won't go in first. Okay, so there's first. So the light went out. If I go back up, oh, that's second. There's neutral again. Okay, so neutral light works. We go up second. So I'm feeling with my hand on the output shaft. Okay. Third. Fourth. See these little notches right here, so these little bumps, this is what it's moving. Oops. And it won't be able to do that when the clutch cover's on. I was having that same problem previously. Okay, so that should be fifth, but didn't quite make it, so there we go, that's fifth. So I don't know if you can see these little things here, these little tabs are what it's moving on the star wheel. Maybe I'll just leave it like that, maybe you can see there. So right in here is where you're looking. Right here. So I'm in fifth right now. So when I downshift, it's gonna, this little lever here is gonna grab on this little tong here. Okay, like half shifted. There we go. Now it's all the way. So now it's in fourth. So now you see I can push on this one up and go back into fifth. Or I can push on this one and go down into third. So it's in fourth right now. So go back up into fifth. Okay, there it is. So it's just like on the XL600, it's got this little guy here, this little wheel with a spring, which is putting force on it. So if it's in between synchronicity points inside the transmission, this will put force on the star wheel to put it into fourth or fifth. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but right now it's in fifth. So can't go up anymore, there's no tong here. So I'll go back down to fourth. Didn't make it. So see how the little wheel is right on the edge of the star? and it wants to push it down this way to get it to go all the way into fourth. It's not quite all the way into fourth. There it is. So if the engine was running, you wouldn't have to play with it. The engine would be spinning, the output shaft would be spinning, and it would sink a lot faster. But that's what makes it sink, is that little rolling wheel that rolls between these stars. Alright, so we're in fourth. Let's go to third. Didn't quite make it. Keep turning. Supposed to drop in. Okay, it's not dropping in. Back up into fourth. There we go. Now it's in third, and you can tell because the little wheel is right in the divot. Okay, so that's third. So now second, so it went right into second. You can see it here. So now if I go half down, which is right there, that's neutral and that's first. So if I can go half down, there it is, just about. There we go. So now I can hold the output shaft and I can spin this freely, no problem. Back into first. See how it went in. And then back into neutral. Not quite. There it is. Okay. All right. So I'm satisfied that the transmission is operating correctly. So the next step will be to split the case open again and do it for real now. So I want to clean up the crank. There's dirt in here. Clean up these bearings the best I can, and put it together for real. And then once the case is together, then I can paint the case, and then I can kind of put the engine to the side because I'm going to put the project on hold for a little bit. But I wanted to get the transmission back in it and get the kickstart shaft changed out and then get it painted and then move on. All right. Well, I cleaned up the crank to the best of my ability, cleaned out the bearings. This bearing came apart, so I was able to clean it up pretty good. Got some of the rust off with a counterweight. And this area here with, wire wheel and the bench grinder wheel, wire wheel. So it looks better. I think the bearings are good. Put some assembly lube in both of them, and I have the engine apart again. So now we're getting ready to put it together for real, and got to make sure that I get everything in there. And so the crank goes in here, and starting to look at this gasket kit. And the big one in the back is going to be the case gasket. So let's get that out. Okay, so I use some ultra black Permatex gasket sealer. and I put it around. Now it didn't have sealer on it. It just had a gasket. But little pry marks and imperfections like right there. I don't know if you can see that. I think it's just better to use the gasket maker, gasket sealer stuff to, you know, prevent having a leak. So I've got it on both sides. I got my new gasket and I should be ready to go. I did read the instructions. I believe I have everything back together. This thing is huge. Yeah, you know, I should have remembered on the XR600, like this thing is really much larger than it needs to be. It's almost so big, it's like, is it going to interfere with the gears? I think I need to get an X-Acto knife and take some of it off. Alright, well I did some trimming. Took out a piece here, and a piece here, and a piece here. So, good enough. Maybe just a little bit more right here. seated. So I had to turn the Kickstarter a little bit, and then the kickstart shaft dropped down into the hole, and that's what was hanging it up. All right, so I have all new bolts, but for painting purposes, I'll use the originals. And it looks like I have to flip it over. Put most of these in. Okay, there it is. So now I want to paint it. Because I have another engine case also that I want to paint. And then I'm going to put it to the side because this project's going to be put on hold. Okay. Alright, well, my goal is to get these engine cases painted. SL125, I have it up like this so I can hit the bottom with like one quick coat, 2 quick coats. Not bad. Looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with that. And like I said, I have new bolts that I will install probably a little later. Alright, so for now, we move on to the cylinder for the SL125. It needs to be honed. I sprayed some oil in there. So it needs to be honed, and then I'm going to paint it. I think the stock color would have been silver, if it even was painted. But I'm going to paint it black, because that's how I roll. so we got the SL125 cylinder, gloss black engine paint. Okay. Now, can anybody relate to this? Flat surface, flat surface, flat surface, one clear area, one small clear area. It just doesn't matter how many tables of flat surface filled with shit. It doesn't matter how many tables I get in here. It always has something on it. Well, it's kind of a familiar episode because it's a lot of the same exact work that I did on the XL600, which I'm looking at, which is right over here. And it is the end of April. It's April 26th. It's cold here in the garage. It's about 50 degrees outside. This is just living in Massachusetts. Not very fun. Anyway, yeah, so got the bottom end of the SL125 back together. Did a little painting. I have some more assembly to do on the SL125 engine. Amy put that out as a video, not sure. And then I have the CB550 that I mentioned that I want to get rid of. And I'm doing the same basic thing to that. I painted the case and the cylinder and whatever. That'll be its own video. So thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed and you would like to see this kind of junk, subscribe. Alright, thanks. Bye-bye.